you make me see. Speak of what you believe. We have the faith to stand alone. When I am here with you, touch me, I know it's true. Don't have to do this on my own.
It's 2020 and the Hidalgo show hasn't been active this year, not very much. But I've got something for you today. We're going to talk representative form of government and how to get it back. That's right, how to get back our representative form of government and do it properly in a way that maybe was never instituted in the United States of America, even from the beginning, although our forefathers intended this very form of government. How do we do it? What is it? We'll talk about it next, here on the Hidalgo Show. Hello everybody and welcome to the Hidalgo Show. And today we're going to talk about reestablishing, regaining, restoring, whatever words you want to use, our Republican form of government. We have a very specific type of government that existed from the very beginning, and it has been over and over again attacked, usurped, redefined, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of minions that can be blamed for that. But today we're not going to play the blame game as much as we are going to lay down what I believe is a type of recovery plan, if you might. The founding fathers, from the very beginning, made it quite evident that we're to have a Republican form of government, and that is not a democracy. It is not mob rule, where the mob sets the policy for those who are not in the mob or those who are in the minority. It's not really supposed to be based on policy. It's a specific set of delegated authorities that we the people give to a group that we call our government, which is separated in its powers to try to overcome any form of corruption. And I think all of us would agree that we've not successfully done that. In fact, even now, there's a coup attempt against the sitting president of the United States of America. And I think personally that he's done a very exceptional job at trying to restore our form of government. But there are some elements that are missing, and I want to go over that because I think this is a plan to reestablish or reconvene or restructure, bring forth the intended concept as it was in the Constitution of the United States of America. And it all really revolves around one specific point. But before we get to that point, I need to make it clear. We need to make it clear. We need to set the standard here. What is a representative? Okay, so a representative in the concept that we use here in this country currently is somebody who presents you to a group, to a faction, to some element of governance somewhere, and that is supposed to present your thoughts and how you want things done. It's essentially what an agent is to a principal. Okay? When a king sends out an agent to do something, that agent does what the king tells him to do, or else he's going to come back and face great adversity and maybe even lose his life. Okay? Well, today, we the people are the kings. All right? Nobody likes to use the word sovereign because there's this big stigma that's been put upon it because the MSDNC has put this stigma over the word sovereign. But the truth is, we the people are sovereign. We are the kings. And these people that we elect are supposed to represent us. In other words, they're supposed to know what it is that we want. Now, I'm going to ask a question. How many of you have ever actually spoken and told your representative exactly what it is that you want done? And how many of you actually believe that he can carry out what you want and what your neighbor wants? Okay, so the concept comes down to this. We have to control a representative, or else they are not truly a representative. That's really what the concept comes down to. If a king sends out an agent to do something, he has to rely on the king's law. The king tells the agent exactly what to do, and that is what he must do. The Constitution is our device. We have told our agents what it is that we want them to do. And they have, in as far as we see, failed miserably over the years at accomplishing that. They put money in the pockets of corporations, in the pockets of those who lobby, in the pockets of those who control from the outside. The elite, the cabal, whatever word that you choose to use, the deep state. Okay, these are the apparatuses that exist today and that have existed for quite some time, that actually apply their own policy, and they have structured it so it lays on top of our instructions. So when our agents who go to fulfill and be our representatives, when they go to Washington, D.C., or when they go to the capital of the state that you live in, all they see is that layer that's been laid on top called policy. That policy's been defined by people who are not following our creed, our law, that we the people have set, and that's the Constitution. And our agents seem to have taken on other agents called the bar, who have misapplied, misdirected, misconstrued that which we told them to do and redefined it in such a way that now the Constitution seems to say something completely different than it did 150 years ago. So and by the way, I mean, the Hidalgo show is obviously an enemy of the bar. Everybody knows this. Go back to the very first Hidalgo show and you'll see that we are no friend of the bar, nor will probably we ever be, because we know who the bar owes allegiance to, and we don't work with that. Okay? But here's the bottom line. We wrote the law. We told our agents what to do with the law. And when our agents do something other than what we instruct them to do, we should have some method by which to impeach them correctly. All right? Now, there's a lot of little pieces of this whole struggle to control our representatives that have gone awry and that actually don't make any sense. And I'm going to maybe touch on some sacred cows here today, and I hope that it doesn't cause you to turn off the show. I want you to listen to it all the way through, and you judge for yourself as to whether or not this is, number one, whether it's important to do, number two, whether it's feasible to do in your local area, all right, and probably most important, number three, can it be done? Okay, can it be done? So I'm going to start, now that we defined representation, or what a representative is. Typically it's an agent that does what the king tells them to do. We're the king, we the people. We are the sovereign. So, does your representative know what you want? Have you met with your representative? Have you told your representative what it is that you want? How is it that they can represent you, your neighbors, everybody else. It's far too vast a number of people to truly represent them. Okay, so we've come down to this conclusion that you have to control your representative. In order for them to actually be a representative, you must control them. If you don't have control of your representative, you really don't have a representative. I can say that even here in South Dakota, there are things that I would love for my representative to know, but they have never asked. They've never made themselves available to me. I've emailed my representative many times, but nothing changes. Okay? So we have to ask ourselves, why don't we represent or don't we control our representative? Has something in the representative infrastructure been set up improperly so that we don't truly control our representatives? And I'm going to argue today that yes, something has been vitally missed along the way in setting up our representative infrastructure. So let's talk about it. Today, if you look around the country, you see cities and municipalities, townships, the small, the actual wheels of America, the cogs of America that make the whole thing run. You see them structured in a form that's not really representative in nature. And here's the problem. If you had every house in your community, and by house I'm talking household, okay? Every American household. Now, again, there's some sacred cows I'm going to touch here. One of those sacred cows is this. Illegals are not part of this equation. Only true American households, okay? Let's say you had a city of 100,000 people. I want to make this easy. City of 100,000 people. It's okay to have this idea of wards, or there's some other names that they have for those things. I think Louisiana has a different name for them. It's slipping my mind at the moment. But there's the concept of wards is okay. But here's what generally happens today. We come to the election, and there's maybe 2, 3, 4 people that are available in that ward, and they're separated into parties. First of all, why? What is the point of parties? It's another sacred cow. Parties have to go. There's no point in having political parties in a limited government. They can do nothing to disavow themselves from the Constitution. They can do nothing to construe the Constitution in some other way. Okay, policy gets disinfected. Policy gets thrown out the moment that you remove parties. As soon as you see every American as an American who has to follow the instruction of the sovereign, we the people, parties go away. There's no point in parties, especially once you start looking at it from the local level. So we're going to take that town of 100,000 people, okay, city of 100,000 people. We're going to go ahead and divide it into wards. But today what's going to happen is you're going to have 2 or 3 people that are going to run as a representative of the ward. They're going to sit on a city council. Okay? Here's the problem with that. There is nobody there to control the representative apparatus for the city council and for above. You're trying to control your representative by going to the polls and giving your opinion. Isn't a poll really just an opinion? You cannot control your representative with an opinion. You can't go to the poll and say yes or no on Prop 8, Prop 9, Prop 10, whatever, Amendment 5, Amendment 6, Amendment 7. You can't go and give your opinion in that poll and expect to control your representative. The only way to control your representative is to have an actual representative form of government where every house is involved. Now, how do you set that up? How do you make that happen? City of 100,000 people. All right? Let's say you have 10 wards. And those 10 wards have 10,000 people, right? 10,000 people times 10 wards is 100,000. And in those 10 wards of people, you have 100,000. Okay, in one of those wards of people, you have 10,000 citizens. Capital C, by the way, because we are sovereigns. It's a proper noun, right? So that those 10,000 people represent probably about, so we're going to say, they say about 2.2 kids per family. In order to have a family, you got to have a man and a woman. Another sacred cow I have to kill. Okay, we're talking about 2,500 houses. Okay, 2,500 houses in a ward. So 2,500 is large. I mean, but there's a lot of convention halls that can hold 2,500 people. There's a lot of churches that can hold 2,500 people. And so what I'm saying is this. Let's call it Ward 1. Ward 1, 2,500 houses. Each house appoints a representative from that house to go. They choose, okay? It has to be of the age of the majority, of course, 18 or over, and they have to be selected by their house to go. The house that's totally private to the house, has nothing to do with the public policy, okay? And that person then has a seat in Ward 1. All right, now, what does that do? It does this. Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, if you set it up in that way, out of the wards come representatives for the city, for even to a bigger extent the county, right? And out of these county representatives would naturally come candidates for the state, and out of these state representatives would naturally come candidates for the United States federal government. Okay. Now, what you've set up is a series of representative infrastructure so that there is a defined and very probable impeachment process for anybody who goes beyond the constitutional level. All right? Now, there's a lot of work to do here to set it up at the local level, because there has to be protocols set up for impeachment, okay, for what can and can't be. There has to be county constitutions, and they can't be adversive or antithetical to that of the federal constitution that the state had to agree with. Because remember, the state, when they came into this union, had to agree with the federal constitution. So they cannot disagree with the federal constitution. Now, I want to make this very clear. When I say constitution, I'm talking about the actual constitution, not the statutes. You understand, statutes are set to define how the agents work. Statutes aren't about us, the sovereigns. Statutes are for the agents. That's something that's also been misconstrued and redefined in the courts across this country, trying to hold us to some adherence of statutes. It's just not something that's right. So in setting up this control mechanism, we now represent ourselves. We represent ourselves, our local house, to ensure that everything that's being done at the local level is a benefit to us. Let me ask you a question. So, this is a true story, something that's actually happening right now. I know of a city who just built a brand new, huge complex for the citizens, capital C citizens, by the way, citizens of their county. Huge pool complex, beautiful. So when people go into that pool complex, they either pay for the day or they pay a fee for the year. Okay, and it's pretty hefty. It's $100-some, right, to go into for the year. But for the day, it's $5, $6, whatever, something like that per person. So here's the thing. Who benefits from that complex that was built? Well, today, under the current system, because the complex was built under the authority of the city council, who gave permission. Listen to how ridiculous this sounds. We, the people, the authority, the sovereigns, grant certain authorities to benefit us to these crazy city councils. The city councils decide, with the mayor and all the councilmen, decide that they're going to do this pool project. So they make this, they tax the citizens, right? Or they get a bond, which essentially becomes a tax at some point, and they build this big complex. Then they come back around and they charge the people to get into the complex. Now, where does that money go? What does that money do? Oh, it's for upkeep of the pool. All of it? The millions that you're making per year is to upgrade the pool? Or should it be this way? What if we set up the wards, the counties, the states, and the federal government the way that I just laid out? And what if Ward 1 says, there are 2,500 households here. We'd love to have a pool complex. So they put up a cool pool complex with the money that's coming in through sales tax or whatever. And they authorize the pool complex to go up, right? And it's for members of their county. What if members of their county who paid in to that, and people from other counties who come and visit and check it out, because it's a cool pool. It's got a nice water slide and everything, It's a great place to be. It's kind, it's considerate, it's clean. So people from all over visit it, patronize it. What if a benefit came out of that back to the people? What if through it they were able to actually receive a check as a member of a society? What if that check eventually became big enough through all the works that they were doing that they could eliminate property tax? What? You mean a benefit to the people? We have to start thinking in terms of benefit to the people. Why is it that we continue to put more and more and more tax money in to a system that just wants more and more tax money. At what point does that tax money set up an infrastructure big enough that it gives back to the people? And the people suddenly are richer from it rather than poorer from it or continual taxes. Really, think about it. It can happen. It can happen. And I believe that this is how you make it happen. Now, there's another element to this. It's a major sacred cow, and people are probably going to crap their pants when I say this one. Voting at the polls is mostly an opinion. We've known that for a long time. They get in whoever gets in. Voting at the polls is mostly an opinion. And people have heart attacks about the concept of voting. But I want to throw this one at you. Who has more skin in the game and who should vote? And I'm being serious. Who should vote? If you have 2,500 households who have a seat in the Congress of their ward, all right, that represents 10,000 people in that ward. Do all 10,000 people vote for who's going to be a representative at the county level from that ward, from Ward 1? Or do the 2,500 people who actually know what's going on and sit on a seat of that local ward Congress, do they vote for a representative? You see, it used to be that the states voted for a senator to go up to D.C. But now it's part of the general election. We vote for senators. And it makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. The function of the Senate is not to represent the classes of people. That is not the function of the Senate. And I'm telling you that even the function, setting up a proper representation infrastructure, the people with the skin in the game are the ones who should be voting to ensure that that constitutional mandate gets made and kept generation after generation after generation so that it benefits all of our households. Voting should not be this thrown about right, like throwing candy at a parade, where you just say, here, yeah, you get to vote. Here's a vote for it. Yeah, you can vote here. Oh yeah, you can vote there. Okay, that's not what voting is. Voting is a very important thing. It's something that is supposed to defend. Voting is a defense mechanism. Voting is to defend your rights. Notice I didn't say constitutional rights, because I'm talking about rights, period. They pre-existed the Constitution. So, don't get angry at me when I say that not everybody should vote. This is not an anti-woman suffrage thing. This is not an anti-civil law thing. Although, I'd say that many of the bad things that we've seen come along in this country were because we separated the Constitution from civil law. We shouldn't do that. All men are created equal. That was in the Declaration of Independence. That was the keystone for the Constitution. We didn't need civil laws to determine that all men were created equal. They made terrible mistakes in saying that an African American slave was 3/5 of a man. No. They've always been a full man. That was stupid. That was repugnant and should have been thrown out on its face. But evil people had control, just like today. Evil people, elites from around the world. This is a war, good versus evil, folks. Voting is a defense mechanism. Ought to be considered we the people's Department of Defense. That's what it is. And only people who have skin in the game and understand the mechanism of voting and its defense ideal should be involved in that. Now, again, today we have a completely screwed up system that doesn't have a true representative infrastructure, and because of it, all right, everybody has to vote. So I'm not saying that today we change anything in the system that we're in, because it's so messed up. It's impossible. It's impossible to fix the way it is. We have to come back to our local levels and create a representative infrastructure that will follow the general rules of the Constitution, federal Constitution. We can take those general rules of the federal Constitution and apply them to the local level. And we can make representative form of government so that every single American household who has skin in the game, that means you control a piece of land. If you control a piece of land, you have skin in the game. If you're an American and you control a piece of land. Notice I use the word control, because some people rent, some people buy. But if you control a piece of land, you ought to have a role in preserving the Constitution of the United States, which benefits you and your family. So, there it is. A plan to control the representative infrastructure of the United States of America, starting with you and your local government. You may be in a really small town. You may be in a super small town. Like me, 1,300 people. Wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world, except for re-educating people's mindsets. But it's a conversation that needs to get started, because it is part of what is killing us in our country. It is part of what is absolutely killing us in our country. The people benefit nothing from the current democratic apparatus. We must go to a Republican form where every household is involved in defending and protecting, preserving the United States of America and its beautiful Constitution. It's second to the Bible Constitution. Okay? So, hope that makes sense to you. Hope I didn't confuse you along the way. You may have to listen to it a couple times. If you're interested in getting involved in this subject, why don't we start a Zoom call talking about this with some people? Contact me. Okay? You can contact me below in the comments on Facebook. If I remember to turn them on. If I don't remember to turn them on, email me here. Let me know that you're interested in being part of this conversation, and let's get the conversation started. Super important that we do it. Okay? The Hidalgo Show is here for you. I'm here for my neighbor. I'm here for my other neighbors. I'm here for you as my extended neighbors all across America. It's time for us to stand up and be the talking majority. It's time for us to stand up and to bring back that which our forefathers gave us with their blood. Or we could just keep going down this road and we'll all be shedding our blood for a very different reason. God bless you all for listening. If you want to subscribe to my channel, it's Rick Dehijo Binya on YouTube. And remember to do that. And also my Twitter, which is QAnon South, at QAnon South, or South Dakota 17_76. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day. And remember, everything we do here at the Hidalgo Show is all about the blood.